ahead, let me invite the panel 3. So, how can wellness practices be associated with the right clinical results of widespread adoption, effectiveness of wellness programs on mental health? And let us invite our eminent panelist for this panel, Ms. Manjari Chandra, owner and founder of Manjari Wellness, Mr. Sahil Pruthi, founder Keto India and Livofy, Mr. Rohit Dingra, founder and CEO Infinite Health Studio, Ms. Fharzana Siraj, founder Orange Ray Holistic Private Limited, Mr. Arvind Savargaonkar, CEO Streben Healthcare, and Mr. Akshara Damle, founder Samveda. So Mr. Akshara Damle is kind enough to accept our request to moderate this session. We welcome you all. It's over to you, Mr. Akshara Damle. Oh my God. Oh. Oh, I'm so sorry. I'll just repeat it. This is Mr. The topic of the panel is healthcare technology trends and digital innovation in 2022 and beyond. And the panelists are Dr. Madhuka Gaikwad, Head of Medicine Unit, GGMC and JJ Group of Hospitals, Ms. Bitali Biswas, CIO, CK Birla Hospital, Mr. Nilesh Sinde, CTO of Jupiter Hospital, Mr. Shuanka Pramnik, Deputy CIO, Manipal Health Enterprises, Dr. Paramhans Mishra, CEO, IQ City Medical College and Hospital, and Mr. Naresh YV, CIO of Rainbow Hospitals. Mr. Naresh is the session moderator of this session. So it's hand over to you, Mr. Naresh.
Thank you, teacher. Thanks, everyone. Good afternoon. It's been a great session till now. We have heard, stalwarts from the industry speak about their thoughts. Now is a session where we talk about technology, right? And I'm sure the panel has a distinguished panel members who have spent years and years in the industry, both in operations as well as in a technology. And thanks to ArdorComm Media Group from Pune and Mr. Chandan Anand and his entire team for having this session today. I would say, this panel is of great importance because it has a combination of both technology leaders as well as leaders from the business in the healthcare industry, which gives a diverse perspective of us of what their thought processes are and what we should do as an industry in this space. So as the title is Healthcare Technology Trends and Digital Innovations in 2022 and Beyond, I feel it's a very apt session in these troubled times. We have seen a lot over the past 3 years, and healthcare is one of the industries who's got the push to adopt technology because of the pandemic, be it positive or negative, but at least we technology folks in the healthcare industry have seen significant investments going up to enable patients get their care, and as well as doctors to take care of the patients through technology. As I said, we've got very distinguished panel members. All of them have been introduced. I'll just give you a brief background in the way I want to conduct this panel. First is the introduction is the team is helping us with the introductions as we speak. We will start off with some of the intros, or I will request each of the panel members to, for a minute or two, just give us a thought process of what technology is, where technology is heading, especially in the healthcare industry, as we have both leaders in both the technology front as well as in the operations front. And then we'll take it subsequently. To start off with, maybe I would request Dr. Madhukar Gaikwad, who's a medical director of GGMC and JJ Group of Hospitals, just to share for a couple of moments on where technology is in healthcare and what we should do as an industry to adopt it more. Dr. Madhukar Gaikwad, can you hear us? Dr. Madhukar, you're on mute, I guess.
Okay.
Yeah.
Please switch your video on.
Yeah, good afternoon.
Yeah, good afternoon, sir. Please go ahead. Have you heard the question, sir? I just wanted your thoughts for a couple of moments on where technology is in healthcare and what we should do going forward.
Definitely, I'm Dr. Madhukar Akkad. First, I'll give my introduction. Already have displayed my brief introductions. So, I think nowadays we have seen so many new technologies were very important in the post-COVID era. Even before COVID era, also so many technologies which are now you consider like telemedicines in futures, like in surgeries, like surgeries, if you know all these things, and also in like a surgical side, if you see, or medicine sides, if you see, is like endoscopies, like capsule endoscopies, or so many new trends are coming, and which are very important now, like in radiology departments, also like virtual interventional radiology things, or any reportings, if you see in like radiology or any other things. So uh, or in COVID's things we have seen or observed, because not possible medicines or virtual telecommunications, or which peoples are not visits also at hospitals. We have seen like on telecommunications or telemedicines advices we have given. So these things I think are very important in new medical future trends, or in futures. I think all other eminent doctors also are there. So which things can be highlights on these things? I think I think on these subjects.
Thanks, Dr. Madhukar. That's been a great insight. Let me move on. Dr. Param Mishra, CEO of IQ City Medical College and Hospital. Sir, your thoughts for a couple of moments on the technology, where we are and what we are doing right.
Thank you very much. I'm not sure why my camera has been put off. Can somebody start it?
Can you switch it on your laptop, sir, if you're joining from your laptop?
Yeah. Can you help him?
Now,
yeah, now we can see you, sir. Yeah.
Thank you. Well, I'm Dr. P.H. Mishra, CEO of IQ City Medical College Hospital, and I have got around 30 years of national and international experience in healthcare, and postgraduate from AIMS, graduate from Delhi University. With that little introduction, I will say that healthcare technology has gone leaps and bounds in recent years, especially during and post-COVID era, because the human touch, which was the essential part of medical care, had lost to this COVID pandemic. And now, forget about the doctors and nurses, even the relatives and friends were scared to meet and touch the patients of COVID. So technology has really helped in treating and saving many lives. Like previously, it used to be only telemedicine, but now we have Zoom meetings, we have WhatsApp video calls, we have Skype, we have so many things which can help in connecting people from faraway places. And even patients who are in isolation, they can be advised, they can be guided how to take care of themselves. That has been really very helpful. Besides that, other areas, technology has really grown up. Like we have got in cancer treatment, we have got latest cyber knives, gamma knives, PACs, Cloud9, and latest technology in robotics surgeries. All these technologies have come up, which has definitely helped in localizing and doing your work more accurately. It was previously done, everything was done by exposing the patient, or the maybe say some tumors or some small lesions were not approachable. But with the advent of this cyber knife and gamma knife, you can really enter deep-seated tumors which can be operated even up to the size of maybe 2-3 millimeters. Doctors can approach and operate upon. So this has definitely helped us in better patient care.
Thanks, Dr. Param, for a wonderful insight. Then I'm happy that I'm going to my technology friends. Let me start with Ms. Mithali Biswas, couple of thoughts from you, ma'am. Mithali, can you hear us?
Sorry, I was speaking on mute. First of all, thank you, ArdorComm, for organizing this interesting topic. I am Mithali. I head the technology for the CK Birla Hospitals as a CIO. So when we talk about technology in healthcare, if you see, the technology has always been there, the kind of technology that we are speaking. And if you look at the other industries, for example, manufacturing or even banking, the adoption is, far higher. I mean, we have been used to the banking apps quite a few years back, I would say. But we are talking in the recent 2 years, I think you would see that the technology and healthcare is being spoken about, thanks to COVID for that. So only one good thing it did probably was accelerate the adoption of technology in healthcare. And healthcare was lagging behind. So although the technology was there, I mean, most of the technology that we speak about now has been there for the last few years. It's not that suddenly it has come because of COVID. But it's only that in healthcare, the adoption has started after, the COVID stuck in, because then people were forced to adopt it and then they saw the power of it. So when we talk about healthcare, there are two distinct areas, as I see, where technology is making a difference. So one is the clinical area and also the non-clinical area. I think before COVID, it was mainly the clinical area, which was more focused. But now, with the COVID, people have also seen how it can make the entire hospital more efficient. Even technologies like AI, remote monitoring, the entire hospital can be more efficient. The patient experience part of it, that is more efficient. And of course, the clinical side is there. So I feel, we are at a very interesting point in healthcare, in the intersection of business and technology, and there's more to do. I mean, there's lots of stuff to do. We are lagging behind, but I think the journey has started. That's a good part. So with COVID, I would say the adoption of technology in healthcare has started, but I think there's a long journey to cover before we actually, catch up with what the technology can offer.
Thanks, Mithali. Next, I would request Mr. Nilesh Indra, CTO Jupiter Hospital, to share his thoughts, please.
Yeah. Good afternoon, and thanks to ArdorComm for this opportunity. Myself, Nilesh Indra. I'm a CTO of Jupiter Hospital Group, and by profession, I'm a medical engineer, having experience of CT and MR machines installation. Might have done more than 75 equipments installation through GE as well as through Siemens, and I'm the first member of this Jupiter Hospital Group. Now, my thoughts about basically post-COVID, really we can say that there's a transformation in digital way what we are looking for. Now, whenever we are saying that COVID, everyone has got some lesson here and there, but then the way Mithali has said, adoption, like digital healthcare or digital transformation has really come into picture, or maybe forcefully has come to in picture post-COVID. Okay. Now, earlier also, artificial intelligence, machine learning, big data, all this terminology was there, but we never took it seriously. But then COVID has made sure that something we need to do it. And this technology which is there existing has maybe came into Indian healthcare. It is, yes, it is too long way to go. But at the same time, if you see that, now we have done that, or most of the hospital has used during COVID, telehealth, teleradiology. Now, what is important which has come up is a home care, internet or medical things, virtual critical care. Now, there are tele ICUs are there available, softwares are there. Then robotic has come into picture, which has given a accurate surgery outcome. Then along with the clinical side, the non-clinical side also has really helped certain things like for the supply chain management, HR. There are a lot of software which was maybe not available, or maybe everyone wants to go on web-based enable, so that with less manpower we can have a good outcome, and whether we at the same time we can able to gather a lot of information. Like during this thing, one more thing which has come up is a digital marketing, as well as training to all our staff. Like physically now it is not possible because of COVID era, but with the help of all this technology, we can able to do sitting at any location. We can able to give the training to that. So this is really, I can say, a lot of changes has happened. Artificial intelligence is really helping us to give the clinical decision also. So we can say that last couple of years, because of COVID pandemic, the adaptation has increased, and I'm sure with National Digital Health Mission, the gap between the whatever healthcare services what we offer to the tier 2, tier 1 cities, and there was always a gap between tier 2 and tier 3. But now with this, all these softwares which are coming up, and with the technology, we should able to bridge that gap.
Thank you.
That is what I feel, that these are changes, or maybe this is the new trend which is coming up.
Thanks, Mr. Nilesh. I'll move on to Mr. Shwankar Pramanik from Manipal to share his thoughts, please.
Good afternoon, and thanks ArdorComm to invite me such eminent panel. Okay. You can hear me, right?
Yes, please go ahead.
Yeah. So, like rightly Mitali already said, technology was there, and specifically in healthcare industry, if I see the history, because I am in the industry last 20 years, so I have seen that technology was there for a long time. It's not a couple of years is there. So like robotic surgery and other technology was there practiced in maybe outside of India, and Indian government, Indian healthcare business was not adopting seriously. Although now in COVID, business generates that kind of needs that they have to adopt this kind of technology rapidly, because now it became a kind of business vertical in every organization. So technology came as a helping hand to the business. Now, like my fellow panelists already told, that there is a digital marketing wing came up, and they are focusing on purely technology-based healthcare ecosystem. So this is the need of the ecosystem. So adaptability obviously came, and other sides from the payer side, like patients are also kind of having fear to reach hospitals due to COVID pandemic. And now they are also make it a habit to adopt this kind of technology. Like you are already habituated with kind of currency-less ecosystem, right? So now your peer providers also now kind of looking for that kind of ecosystem. So technology is always there, and the kind of still some of the big organizations who have their cash-rich organizations, they are in advance of adopting those technology, but in mid-sized hospitals, mid-sized healthcare companies are now gradually moving towards to adopt those technologies, I must say.
Thank you, Mr. Shwankar. So as a follow-up questions, I would request some of the panels to answer these. One is maybe Dr. Madhukar, I just wanted your thoughts on how well India is adapting to artificial intelligence as a discipline in both healthcare and in drug development. Can you please share your insights?
Really, nowadays, this is a need of artificial intelligence in drugs as well as in medical health factors. Because in COVID era, observe so many things like in medical institutes, I mean as a government institute. So that time we have observed this in treatment wise, in in medicine as rural, I observe so many patients treated through the video conferencing, so many programs, so many if any guidelines as per the guidelines of COVID. So have you given through the video conference to all periphery medical colleges or periphery doctors, or also we as if we observe in clinical sites like teaching of MBBS students or MDs, any other faculties, also observe in schools also now in on school. So this thing also I think nowadays there is no need to also to teach MD or MBBS students or anything in offline or same institute. Other institutes also students we teaches this through the video conference. And as well as you have told asked me about is the pharmas also, if any informations regarding any drugs or any You also highlight this digital information like video conferencing, others methods of this develop this digital transformation.
Thank you, sir. So moving on, maybe I would request Mitali to just share her thoughts in terms of, are there any regulatory challenges in implementing remote healthcare and telemedicine in the Indian context?
Oh, yes. So first is, I think the regulations are not very clear. So when in my hospital, for example, the doctors were forced to use telemedicine because of the lockdown. Okay, so when there was a lockdown, we got the solution. So they were forced to do it, even if they were not comfortable doing it. And when the lockdown went away, they are back to their normal. Not many of the doctors are using telemedicine anymore. And when I talk to them, what they say is, one, they are not they are very afraid of this medico-legal thing, which is not very clear. So what they say is, in case something goes wrong, who takes the accountability? So that is not very sure. There are restrictions on what kind of diseases that can be, treated, or what kind of drugs you can prescribe. So I see a lot of resistance from the doctors itself in practicing this, especially the senior doctors, I would say. And that's because though there was a telemedicine guideline that was, I think, launched in 2019 or 20, after COVID stuck in. But still, there are a lot of gaps which are not very clear. And I see the major challenge I see is the resistance from the clinicians to kind of go ahead and adopt it. So they do it only when they're forced to. It's a situation patients can't come in or whatever, but given an option or choice, they would like to do the normal consultation. The second part, when you think about it from a technology point of view, our job in the hospitals, we are also not very clear in terms of data privacy issues. So, when architecting the solution, what are the data privacy guidelines that we should follow? So there are no clear guidelines. So there is HIPAA, there is this NDHM, which is in a blueprint stage, but there is no clear guideline that this is the law. So that is also not clear. Now, if I come as a patient also, I don't know my rights, what data I should be sharing, what I should not be sharing, what consent I should give. So I find that there's still a lot of, lack of clarity. So though a telemedicine guideline and all was launched, but that was again because COVID came in and something had to be done. We were forced to do it, and even the clinicians were forced to kind of adopt to it. But I don't see, they're doing it freely on their own. So I think, and that's because they are afraid. The medico-legal laws are not very clear. Even the data privacy laws are not very clear. So those are, I think, I would say the high. From technology's front, I don't see any challenges. I mean, whatever infrastructure you need, bandwidth you need, that can be taken care of. The technology is there. But I think it's mainly the regulatory challenges, the awareness, the clarity which is lacking, and that's stopping, I would say, the adoption of it in the scale that we would want it to be.
Thanks, Mitali. I think that makes sense from both technology and operating perspective. Dr. Param Mishra ji, your thoughts on regulations and where we are going right in adopting telemedicine in India?
Yeah, thank you, Naresh, for that question. When I was Deputy MS Savargaonkar Hospital in 2004-05, I started this project of telemedicine there. But there were lots of questions regarding who will be responsible. Suppose some image which is transmitted from one source to another, and if it gets distorted on the way, who will be responsible? Because doctors make their decision based on the image that they get. Image may be right at the sender's end, but during transmission from one place to another, there may be some artifact, there may be some defect, or there may be some distortion, anything. So who is responsible for that? Because the doctor's decision can be, life-changing, can be life-threatening also. So that there is no clear-cut guidelines, there is no clear-cut rule to regulate that till now, as far as I know. So that is very challenging. Doctors always feel better to see the patient because many diagnoses you can make just by seeing the patient, not by the reports. Sometimes reports give something else and the patient is in some other condition. So that's very important. Even Indian patients still have that habit of seeing doctor, being touched by the doctor, being auscultated by a stethoscope or that. Yes, COVID-19 forced people to take this technology route, but I still feel that touch, human touch is still very, very important. Yes, technology can be supplementary, can be complementary where the patient is at far away. Patient cannot travel to the hospital or to the doctor, and those facilities are not available. We are using that facility in our hospital, IQCT Medical College Hospital. We are advising patients from far away, say northeast or some other places, even Bangladesh also. We can give initial advice, but curative and final advice should be or could be given only when you see the patient actually.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Ji. Dr. Madhukar, one question I had was maybe you've implemented chatbots or AI solutions in your hospital. Your experience in using them. I'll go back to Shuankar or Nilesh on the technology piece of having chatbots and AI. But as a consumer of such technology, what is your thought process?
Regarding chatbots, if you earlier like delimitations, there are certain limit. Any technology has limitations because everything will not be that is can't think or can't expect on these things only or can't take decision this thing because already he thought directly with communications or direct through digital there are certain limitations. So any technology have merits or anything's demerits also. So everything will not helpful regarding patients. So I think any technology or any hint is there are some limitations. Whatever there was given information on that basis only we can advise. Without seeing anything or any patients, we can't give complete any diagnosis or finally any information. So I think everything has limitations. On that information basis only we can only advise. That's I think on this chatbots or any other informations.
Got it. So Shuankar, your thoughts on where chatbots or AI as a technology can really help both taking care of patients from a remote location or people who have some chronic medical conditions.
Chatbots and AI is two different things. Chatbot mainly, it's now using just patient as a patient engagement platform. That's all. It's not capturing any medical indicators from chatbot. Basically, it's very basic medical indicators. Like if someone from patient side is very smart, they can give you kind of medical indicative data, then it's okay. Otherwise, based on their inputs, doctors can't take a risk kind of diagnosis any disease on the basis of chatbot, because maybe that reading is wrong. Whatever devices they are using, it's not calibrated. Something still doctors are kind of apprehensive on using all those chatbots for medical decisions. Right? It is just only using a kind of informative bot. It's kind of static bot. You can take appointment. You can have a kind of take a service. You can ask for a laboratory services. You can ask for some radiology services. This kind of limitations is there still. But chatbot is very much useful for educated someone basically. For recently, like Government of India are focusing on mental health, and there are a lot of chatbots which is using machine learning language, and basically this kind of chatbot are generating predictable responses for the mental patients, and this is very effective. And they are using techniques from cognitive behavior therapy. CBT is called in technology, and there is a kind of dialectical behavior therapy also, DBT. So based on those technologies, those chatbots are developed for mental health persons, and how users are providing basically psycho educations and self-guided interventions in multiple areas of mental health. So chatbot are using only for education purpose, right? And obviously, by this education, they are getting some inputs, and based on those inputs, they are building AI and all these algorithms also. So this is the limitations of use of chatbot. What I feel.
Thanks, Shankar. Nilesh ji, any thoughts? You're on mute, sir. Can you unmute, please?
Chatbots, when we say that when we use artificial intelligence in chatbots, like artificial intelligence is maybe a branch of computer science or segment of computer science, which normally involves designing some computer application to perform tasks which normal typical human being, like their intelligence can be used, like in case of speech recognition or maybe decision making or virtual perception of that person or a human being. Now, AI-based chatbots which are there, okay, what advantage I can say that in mental illness or something, patient can chat with, have a discussion with that chat box. They will not hesitate to disclose their identity also. Maybe the response which we will get from chat box is like empathy towards that concern of the patient. But at the same time, these chatbots are not like something like a diagnosis tool, or it cannot deal the more serious issues also. Because if you think, if you see that, like human touch is very, very important. All the speakers said that human touch is very important. And even if we are saying teleconsultation also or telehealth, still maybe patient who are into depression in mental health, their relative also would like to have an interaction with doctor 1:1 rather than doing on chatbots where is okay, there is intelligence has been used, artificial intelligence has been used, but it is still like a one-way traffic only. Because till the time we connect to each other, I don't think so, at least in Indian environment or healthcare, this is going to work out as such. Chatbots is my personal opinion.
Thank you, Nilesh ji. Mithali, one thought, if you look at the latest, update from Facebook and having, metaverse, right? So that's where, your augmented reality, virtual reality, all that will come into picture. Where do you think such technologies can really benefit healthcare, both from a provider perspective and from a patient perspective?
I think it's more going to use on the clinical side, I would say, as of now, based on whatever use cases are there. So it definitely one, because you can, view a 3D image of the entire patient or the entire anatomy of the patient, which definitely helps in the complex surgeries. There's a use of a lot of robotics now, especially in orthopedics, which I see in our hospital. So that really helps in finding out the exact space, correct precision. That definitely helps the surgery and helps the patient to recover faster. The other major area I see is in the education side of the clinical side. So, these technologies can definitely help in educating the new doctors or the new residents, because of course, anything visual helps rather than just theoretical. So that's one thing. Another thing, I think there can be a lot of collaboration that can happen between the doctors here or, anywhere else, be it outside India in our other cities in India, which is otherwise very difficult to have unless you have a full image of what you're trying to do. It becomes very difficult just on based of the report or something. So that collaboration I also see, I think, increasing between the doctors or clinicians across the world with the help of these technologies. From a patient point of view, I think as we advance, this clinical technology is advanced, it's going to have a direct effect on having a much better surgeries, which is again going to reduce the cost and probably a faster recovery. So that's, I think, what will be the impact on the patient side.
Thank you, Sahil. Dr. Madhukar, being from the medical background and you've been practicing it, where do you think augmented reality and virtual reality can help you as a doctor in providing better care?
In digital, most of times these things, medical technologies definitely in our medical fraternities they're helpful. So many projects, governments or state also, they are to help these medical teachers, medical doctors, or remote areas also. Now I'm giving example. If it is like projects like if patient has any chest pain in a remote area, periphery. So that time there so many doctors will not, expert doctors will not that time. So we can't read ECGs also. So like projects we study that ECG, if we are any augmenting any technologies, if we send to that ECG to expert doctors or are mobilizing that patient. So this like projects in governments or state or center governments, they are implementing. Definitely, I think these things, technology or these projects will helpful to remote as well as in advanced institutes.
Thank you, Madhkarji. We'll request another doctor in the panel. Dr. Param Mishra ji, where do you think these new technologies as, artificial intelligence, augmented reality, virtual reality, where do you think as a doctor it will really help you?
Well, these newer technologies are definitely very helpful. Artificial intelligence and other things gives you a platform to think beyond what you actually see. And they give you access to latest things which you might not have read in your books or which you might not have experienced in your clinical practice. They help you in definitely seeing beyond what your eyes see and practicing beyond what you can actually do by hands. But the problem with our medical curriculum is that our doctors are least taught about technology like Consumer Protection Act, infection control, biomedical waste management. These are the basics which they should be taught. And there is too much emphasis on teaching them everything. Like I will say that we have around 37 subjects in medical MBBS graduate, and we have to cover in 4.5 years. And every book is almost more than 1,000 pages. You can't imagine a person to read those books and remember everything. So I would be saying that we should move ahead and make the doctors specialize in some particular fields, give them the basics, teaching like soft skills, technology, medical legal aspects, and give them maximum exposure in one particular field where they want to practice in future. Those who want to do general practice, they should be trained in general family medicine rather than teaching neurosurgery, embryology, anatomy to each and every individual. It's waste. I read medicine 30 years back, and 90% of the things I have forgotten. I have never used. So there is no point in teaching everything to everybody. I feel people should be made a specialist, and those who want to do general practice, they should be given training in general medicine.
Thank you, Mishra ji. I think for the panel, I think one new thing which has come up, we keep seeing it on the advertisements, both on on TV and on the internet, is on smart devices, right? Especially wearable technologies, right? So one of the ways in which they market is that they help you take care better of your health, right? How many steps you have walked, how many calories have you burnt, etc. So I just want to spend next 5-6 minutes from each of the panel to understand, where do you think wearable technology, does it have a role in making health better, and what all personal, I'm sure everybody must have dabbled with a wearable device till now. So your thoughts on that. Maybe we can start off with in the reverse order, Mr. Shuankar. Maybe if you can just give your thoughts on where wearable technology and your personal experience on it, please.
Thanks, Doctor. Actually, we just started in our Manipal group IoT devices, and we are monitoring neuro and ortho patients. We started this project 2 months back, and it will be commercialized by 15th of March. So this project is very much successful, and how that thought process basically came. The healthcare industry already used some wearable devices such as pacemaker and blood glucose meters in order to enhance the quality of care, right? And survivability among patients facing diabetes and arrhythmia, what we found. And it is the healthcare industry where recovering patients' outcomes is significant for those sustained success of providers. And certain devices like Fitbands can seamlessly function to monitor the heart rate in real time. And they can also measure calorie counts, glucose levels, distance run, blood oxygen levels, and sleep cycles as well. We already used to use those devices. Those patients who wear such devices can have their health stats instantly, and it can be integrated into the EMS systems of the organization. Other than EMR integration, such devices can be interfaced with customized mobile apps to analyze the development of treatment and allow patients to satisfy wellness goals to avoid setback of illness also. So this was the thoughts, and next thought came maybe everyone can't afford this kind of devices. So we started a kind of rental model, basically, for remote monitoring. So we are giving to the patients devices with rental systems. After monitoring, suppose 15 days post-care or 20 days post-care, we get back to it. So we are already using this kind of IoT devices. This is my experience.
Thank you, Shankar. Nilesh, your thoughts on wearable technology and your personal experience, please.
If you see that before COVID, no one was really worried about SpO2. But last 2 years, everyone was really worried about SpO2. So if you see that now, smartwatches are really coming to picture, because earlier we used to use only to check how many steps we have done, with how many calories we have burned. But nowadays we are using smartwatches for the heart rate, SpO2, because they become vital. So these are the which are standard in most of the smartwatches. But there are some which is already standard and available there in smartwatches. But there are certain studies are going on, and then there are certain watches, smartwatches has got the FDA approval also to detect abnormalities like atrial fibrillation. So this is very, very important. So this is going to make an impact. Yes, in India, it will take some time to come, but with the COVID, as I said earlier, that a lot of adaptation has happened. Similarly, like smartwatches, there are smart patches also. Earlier, we used to have like a lead of not many cables, we used to have it, and then the monitor for 24 hours. Nowadays, with smart patches with specific identity, like if you want to have a diabetes management or patient monitoring or drug delivery, with smart patches you can do it, which has become now easy to wear it also for 24 hours, and then you can able to translate that into real data, which can be easily converted into what are the things or what is to be done for the patient. Everything can be done online nowadays. So these are the advantage I can say wearable is going to make in years to come.
Sure. Thank you. Mitali, your thoughts, please.
So what I feel is, this wearables and the remote devices, in long term, they are going to change the way healthcare is delivered. Traditionally, if you see, healthcare the delivery has always been reactive. I mean, I don't, in my growing up years, I don't remember going to a hospital other than when I was sick. You fall sick, then only you go to a hospital. Even preventive health checkups were not common while, I was younger. Slowly, people became conscious. Preventive health checks are common. At least we go for a checkup at least once a year. With COVID, people have become more aware, more conscious about their health. And now, I don't even need to go to the hospital. There are a few basic parameters I can monitor myself and be aware of, where I am. They also have, good features of alerting you or notifying you. So if there is something wrong, I can go and then consult my doctor. So I think that's the power these devices are bringing in. slowly, you don't just have to be dependent on the healthcare providers or doctors. You can take it in your own hands, at least the basic ones. And then if there is a problem, you go and consult to the hospital. I also feel it might make a difference in elderly home care, especially when I have aging parents at home, and I find it quite difficult sometimes to take them to the hospital, especially with this COVID and all. So monitoring them, that definitely is going to be a big game changer if we are able to adapt well, and the ecosystem around that has to be developed. So just having the variables and you can monitor it, doesn't help. The ecosystem around it, how do you get alerted? How do you then connect to the hospital? And then how the care is given. So all that ecosystem has to develop. The potential definitely is there, I would say. The consciousness is there. The awareness still has to be built in. The ecosystem around it has to be built in. But I feel in the long term, it has the potential of, making healthcare from more of a traditional reactive to more, preventive and with wellness as a focus.
Thanks, Ravi. Dr. Mishra ji, your thoughts, please, on wearable technology. You are on mute, sir. If you can just please. Yeah.
Wearable technology is definitely helpful, as Mithali has pointed out, that smart watches and all these items are definitely helpful. Pulse oximeter has been really helpful in helping people during this COVID era. But idea is, who will guide and who will help you if you are finding something abnormal in your parameters. It's the decision making still lies with the doctors, because during pandemic we saw that people were advising if your oxygen saturation goes less than 92-93%, then you have to report to hospital. Okay, fine. But we have seen many happy hypoxic patients who were just walking normal and they suddenly collapsed. They may not be able to find out what is the actual reason, and sometimes doctors are also not able to find out. But when we did the CT scans of their X-rays, their CT was really bad. These were already infected. During present scenario also, in the third wave of pandemic, what we saw, the many patients did not die of COVID. Their lungs were already so bad that even if they become COVID negative, many of them died because of the pre-existing conditions or pre-existing their lungs, etc. were bad. So preventive health checkup is very, very important. As Mithali and Nilesh pointed out, that preventive health checkup is important. You cannot do these preventive health checkup sitting at home. Suppose I say that I do my thyroid test, TSH, T3 and T4. I don't think a common person will be able to interpret what is TSH, why it is raised or why it is low. So you need to see all conditions in totality. Plus, the laboratories, they have different parameters. The smart watches, etc., may have different parameters. They may beep even with the slightest change in your parameters. Suppose your heart rate goes to above 80, they will start beeping. They may say that you are having tachycardia, but that may be because of some anxiety. Maybe you had done some little exercise or something like that. So we need to understand what is the difference between pathological and normal changes in parameters. So that is very, very important. But yes, these technologies are very helpful in monitoring day to day your parameters. Suppose a patient is diabetic, you cannot go to hospital every day, you cannot get your blood sugar check every now and then. You can monitor at home. You can regulate your insulin, you can regulate your medicines according to that, but with doctor's advice. The watches are also good. How much exercise you can do, how much your body can tolerate. All these things are good, but they are only supplementary and they are only complementary. They cannot replace the actual medical care.
Thank you. Dr. Madhukarji, your final thoughts, please.
Definitely, advanced technology is helpful to diagnose exact diagnosis of the patients helpful. And like devices, like if you think like simple things like digital thermometers or digital BP apparatus or self-monitoring of blood glucose with glucometers at home. So these simple technologies are there, like I think monitoring of the temperature. So now people also can monitor at home also, okay, how much temperatures it is there, or how much sugar levels morning or evening fasting or postprandial is there, or there can like blood pressure with digital BP apparatus. Some apparatus or technology is not reliable, but they can give some guidance or to inform regarding patients monitoring of these parameters to patients. But ultimately I think these are only helpful to monitoring, but ultimately they should be required to take the advice of the doctors. Lastly they need. Definitely I think for the monitoring of these devices and in for the patients diseases, advanced technology definitely helpful, as well as monitoring of the patients, I think helpful in the routine life of the patients.
Thank you. I think we have come to the end of the session. I think I would like to thank profusely all the panel members. We have great discussions. You have shared great thoughts. Thank you to the ArdorComm Media Group for the opportunity. Thank you very much and take care and be safe. Thank you.
Thank you very much, ArdorComm Media.
Thank you.
Thank you, Naresh. And thank you, everybody.
Thank you, everybody.
So thank you, everyone. This was a nice session to look forward. So may I request Shubham, can we have now we'll have a felicitation ceremony of all our eminent panelists. Shubham, can we start? So Dr. Madhukar Gaikwad.
Thank you.
Next certificate goes to Ms. Mitali Biswas, CIO of CK Birla Hospitals.
Thank you.
Mr. Nilesh Sinde, CTO Jupiter Hospitals. Mr. Shwankar Pramnik, Deputy CIO Manipal Hospitals. Thank you, sir. Dr. Param Mishra, COO IQ City Medical College and Hospitals. Thank you, sir. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Mr. Naresh Yellapragada, CIO Rainbow Hospital. Thank you, sir. It was a wonderful session. Thank you for moderating this session.